Recognize this, right?
Who doesn't? Who doesn't have been in a place we're all familiar with? This is the soundtrack, the one song soundtrack of Ironless Jim.
On repeat.
Just on repeat.
It used to be Rasputin.
Pat's he's getting a lot of press from this music business, isn't he?
This song, when you sent through that this was going to be your pick, I sent it out to the group. I said, 1 million bonus points for who can pick which song Alison selects. In 10 seconds, John Murphy, Thunderstruck.
Right? That's amazing.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I thought you told us. Murphy
in 10 seconds, boom. 1,000 million bonus points for John Murphy. So here we are. Wow. What a great segue to kick off episode 13 of Old Guard Athletics, opening the Echo Chamber with a special guest who picked that song, which everybody knows. Who doesn't know that song? We got a roll call that's a bit special today for a number of reasons. First off, the usual crew is here. Mike Nederhoff, Jay Beavis, and Jon Somers, for those that can't see. And then John Murphy, as we talked about in the last podcast, is just dealing with a bit of life issues, which is normal for all of us. And we've got a tradition, actually, that was started by, or suggested by Troy Shear, who was a guest.
Who was the first guest host.
Yes, so his suggestion was to have former podcast guests fill in for any time one of the OGA crew is missing.
This is he just wanted to come again. So
are you foreshadowing for me? Like
maybe.
No.
Potentially, yeah.
Aha.
We're actually telling you.
Oh.
So we've got Nick Lorenzo, who is our milestone guest for episode 10 back today. And when we get into this with our special guest, Alison Montgomery, the connections between you being here serendipitously, I like to throw these big words that I don't know, and with Alison is quite crazy. So yeah, I mean, what a great gathering. So first off, what we like to do is, because that song is such a kick-ass song anyway, but why would you pick that song for your intro song?
Well, when you asked me, it's the first song that came to mind. And because back in the day, I loved that song, and posing music was always such a big deal. You pick the right posing music, the routine was going to be awesome no matter what. And posing music was always like a crapshoot if it was going to work or not. And after I retired in '89 from competing, I judged for several years, and this song kind of came out. I think it came out in 1990. And everybody used it. And I'm like, I had to use that song. I would have loved to have used that song. And so now I get to use it.
So you know what the crazy part is?
What's that?
Well, first off, you've kind of done that, was it the prelogue or whatever you call it, for your own introduction, because people don't know who you are. Oh. So I think most people have figured this out, that you're bodybuilding kind of icon locally. But the other part is, I also, as you know, competed in the early 90s. And that was the classic situation. Is this song was so popular that nobody used it. Like that in some way.
So you wanted to differentiate yourself?
You know why? Because it was so big.
Everyone thought that
you had to be big.
You either had to be so big to carry the song, or you knew you'd be like the sixth person to do it.
Yeah.
So then there were situations where the show that I was in, nobody did it. Because everyone assumed that someone would do it.
It is, to me, ties to like lifting in a hardcore gym. Oh, yeah. Like if you're in a hardcore gym for more than an hour, that song is going to play in rotation. It just is. Like there's no, every one I've been to that's a proper like concrete metal gym, that song plays in it.
So you've got that situation, and then just another nuance for those that never maybe listened to us before. We're based in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, in the middle of kind of nowhere in Canada, and yet a group from Australia somehow is like the number one song band played at all hockey, football events.
Yeah,
like in the middle of anywhere but Australia in the wintertime. Like it's just the weirdest phenomenon to have.
It's funny you bring it up because I know we talked about it before, what it means to other people in different sport. Like we're all tied to lifting in this room in one capacity or another, and that's what it means to me. But yeah, you're right. It's the hockey.
But it's also
right?
it's been, I think, for like ever since it came out, just about, it is the opening routine for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders at every home game.
Is that right? Still today?
Still today, yeah, exactly. And it's the exact same routine.
Well, there you go.
It's like the haka.
And it ends with 36 women doing a kick line and into a split. It's pretty impressive.
So how? So did they pick that up when the song came out?
I think it's been like, there's a Netflix series right now on
the Cowboys.
Oh yeah, on the way
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's
Way better
worth
than the
watching. Honestly,
Way better than Hard Knocks.
everybody, and of course, everybody knew Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders, but I didn't know until watching the episode that it was their theme song. It opens every single home game. It's amazing. Yeah.
So we've got a young guard athlete here who's 24. Mm-hmm. Do you have any idea what we're talking about in terms of the iconic status of the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders for what?
Yeah, no. I do have a connection to the song though. Like obviously it plays a lot at Ironworks. But prior to that, it was a song that like anytime it came on at my house when I was younger, like my mom, I remember she used to do like home workouts sometimes. And she'd have a playlist going. And a couple songs would play, and every single time that Thunderstruck came on, the volume was just to the max. You'd hear it get turned up. The house would like literally be shaking. Yeah,
right.
I have a connection to the song too.
So we've got a couple of intertwined themes today. Like one is the song that kind of permeates through all of our backgrounds. The other one is that you're 24, which we just found out is the same age as a special person in your life today.
Yes.
And so we're so happy that you joined. When you and I spoke before, Alison had mentioned that the 16th of September is a really special day for you.
In a very sad way.
In a sad way.
Yeah.
And that often you're trying to figure what would you do on the 16th, and you've been kind enough to spend it with us.
This is a this is a great way to spend this day.
Yeah, and so maybe, fortunately, but
my son, I have two sons, and my older son passed away on September 16th, 2001, and he was 24 years old, and he was on an adventure, and he was in the mountains in Kamloops, BC, near Cranbrook, in the Kootenays, and he was mountain climbing, and he fell, never came back down.
Goodness.
So this is 24 years he's been gone, and he was 24 when he passed. So when Jon said, like, do you want to do the 16th? I'm like, yes, I'll be doing that on the 16th.
I mean, it's awesome, right? Yeah. I mean, and I didn't know the story details, and so then as being what we would call like a young guard athlete at that time, 24 years old, right? I mean, it sounds like he was passionate about athletics like you.
Adventuresome.
And he was living his life.
Yeah.
And, we just have one of our old guard athletes, part of the crew here, just text everybody, might as well show your hand for those that are watching.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but I mean, a life of athletics for your entire life, you run into these situations that sometimes are super tragic, and sometimes it's this.
I've broken more bones in my 40s and above than I did below 40 playing, I think, way more dangerous sports. So rugby, hockey.
I'm just wearing out. Mine's all chronic and not acute.
So
torn bicep, clavicle, and then broken hand.
So is it your IQs?
I was going to say, are we getting dumber and clumsier?
Someone tried to tell me today that you've got a family. You should really think of your family. And I said, well, if I don't do the things that I need to do to clear my head and push the envelope.
I don't know if I've used this quote before. Montgomery Burns, friends and family are the demons we must slay to succeed in business, is what he says. But friends and family are demons we must slay to succeed in sport.
You got to slow down. No.
So this is kind of the perfect touch point to why you're here, Alison, because I'm trying to piece together the years, but I was in high school from 84 to 87, and that's the first time I ran across you, because you were a young art teacher.
I started in 84.
It started in 84, and did you start at Walter Murray then?
Yep.
Okay, so
first job.
that's where I went to high school. So for 4 years, I saw Alison there as a teacher, and then maybe you can describe what you were doing on this side.
Like the bodybuilding.
Yeah, I mean, because...
Yeah.
Well, but also I found out in what you sent through, you were also accomplished in racquetball at that time.
Yeah, so
Which ironically, very few people even know that's a sport anymore.
I know.
Considering there used to be racquetball courts, you wouldn't even know this.
No.
So I just rejoined the Saskatoon club, and they were showing me the racket court that they have in there. I'm like, does anyone use this? Oh, there's a few members. That
Is it
do.
racquetball or squash?
I think it's squash.
Yeah, squash, there's hardcore, but racquetball, you don't even know what it is.
My dad played
Been on a
racquetball,
squad.
man.
Like
it's kind of
squash
like
court in
it's
high
like
school.
indoor pickleball with 2 people against a wall. Like that's it's
With a rubber ball,
with the rubber ball, yeah.
but it was good.
Well,
It picked up.
it was big. Like
Yeah, it was everywhere.
racquetball was like I seem to remember like it was probably I started playing around 1980 because there were several clubs around town, and the Racket Masters I think it was
Yeah,
the name of the
that's it,
club.
that's it.
And it was out in the I think where the Glow Bowling or where the bowling alley is.
Yeah.
You know by behind Holy Cross. You
Yeah,
know that
yeah,
area.
yeah,
Eastview Bowl.
Eastview Bowl,
That's
yeah.
it.
And so I played racquetball and lots of racquetball. And what happened was that I played so much racquetball that the forearm on my racket arm got bigger than the other forearm. And my brother thought it was hilarious so he used to call me Popeye arm because I had one arm with a big forearm and the other one.
Rafael Nadal,
Yeah.
I think, is the...
And so I started. So I did play a lot of racquetball, and then I started. I thought, well, maybe if I start to lift, there was a universal weight set at the back of the racket club, and no one ever used it. Like just a kid plunking around every once in a while. And so my best friend, her husband was already into competitive bodybuilding, and he and his brother, that's Jay Watson and Paul Watson, he and his brother were already competing, and I asked Jay for a program to just balance out, and so it kind of started like that. And then
So just because there's going to be lots of points to build on, is Jay Watson the Jay Watson that turned into the lawyer?
Yep.
Then he was a member at Ironworks.
He
Yeah.
still is. I just
Yeah.
saw
Yeah.
Jay on the weekend.
Yeah. Jay and I went to
Like,
elementary
he's been there
school
for
together.
40 years.
Since
as
day
well.
one, probably.
Yeah, Jay and I went to elementary school together. So did his wife at the time, Val, and
Incredible.
Val and I are still best friends. And anyway, so Jay's actually gave me that program, and then I don't exactly remember how I left the Universal and got to. It was probably through Jay. I got to Ironworks, but it wasn't Ironworks at the time. Pat had a gym on 22nd Street.
Downtown.
What was it called?
Wow, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
either.
no, he told me this.
Anyway,
So, yeah.
it was Pat's gym.
Yeah.
And I started training there, and I met another girl there who was training and kind of she sort of kind of helped me out. And then I got a program from Pat, and then I just kind of realized that the gym was a pretty cool place to be. And I kind of...
You got hooked.
Yeah, well, and then so I did qualify for the Canadian doubles racquetball championships. Never ended up going, but then just kind of shifted over to the gym and realized that the gym was cool because you didn't have to make a booking. You didn't have to have a partner. Like you could go whenever it suited your schedule. Training partner was great. And in the beginning, I did have a training partner. I think her name was Charlene, and so. And then I just kind of realized that, or people told me that I had develop muscle quickly, good natural kind of symmetry physique, and so that was encouraging. And at the time, so now that is like 80, it was 80, 81, and so this was the days of like Corey Everson.
Yeah, for sure.
And people like that. And so
Rachel McLeish.
Yes, exactly. And that was like, well, who doesn't want to look like that, right?
Nick, you know what those
And-
days are? You should check
They're
out.
long
You
gone,
should,
but you
Need
know,
to
Corey
check out
Everson
Small Muscle
looks
Fitness
the
Band.
same.
I know.
She looks as good as she ever looked.
you should check it out because these are the ladies that Alison was looking up to.
Okay.
Those are the ladies that they don't even exist in the professional stuff today, right? But yet they look the same. Like they've just remained extremely fit from.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But they were like, there's been so many changes in bodybuilding like categories since.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing. But so anyway, that was these beautiful women that it's like, well, that's pretty nice physique. But also it was like,
so you weren't intimidated? Because sometimes that physique like turns other females off. Oh, it's too muscular, too skinny.
but you know what? If you look back at them, they weren't.
They were more
Like
fantasy.
there were people like Bev Francis, for example.
She
had a very unappealing physique. Like she looked these women didn't look like that. They looked phenomenal. And I'm like, that looks great. Like super great. And if they had work done, whoever was doing it was really good at the work they were doing.
I don't think any of them did.
Well, I think probably everybody had like
It was coming, but it hadn't started yet.
So they were very it was very appealing to me. Plus, it was an environment where women it was atypical, and that was kind of a challenge. That was neat. Like I'm doing something that not everybody's doing, and I always kind of like that. You know, it's competitive and whatever. And I thought, well, there's not too many gals here that are competing. You know, and so that's interesting. You're a little bit of a groundbreaker in our community.
Big time.
Yeah. So that was the interesting part about that. And the first few years of competing were like, I mean, I go back to those pictures, I'm like, oh my goodness.
How much time do you from this racket, from going in to fix your
Popeye arm?
Popeye arm to competing? How many years was that?
Oh, probably 2.
Oh, so quick turnaround.
That's very
Well,
quick.
yeah, because, you know, people puff you up, you know.
And you were already very fit.
I was fit already, yeah. I have a lot of muscle. But, you know, like provincially, people weren't very big yet. You know, the women weren't very big yet. And there was only one category. It was bodybuilding. It wasn't like all these...
Figure and...
Yeah, it wasn't like figure and this and that. It was just bodybuilding. And
even for the men's back then.
Yeah, and also it was very, very straightforward. You competed, you qualified, you got to go to the next level. You competed, you qualified. Like, it wasn't like it is now where it's this massive commercial industry as well. It was just a thing we did. And I also got involved quite quickly with SABA, which was the Saskatchewan Association of Bodybuilding, and I was president of it for a while, and I, I did all that stuff, and yeah. So then I competed, because you don't really know where you fit in until you put yourself out there and you realize, oh, okay, well, you look great in the mirror. But on stage, compared to like 6 other people, you're like there. You're not there. You're not the end. Like you're like, if these 6, you're like maybe 3 or 4. So the first few years I competed for 6 years, from 83 I think to 89. And the first 3 or 4 times I competed, I placed second. Second sucks. And I placed second every year to someone different.
Oh yeah,
someone different. You didn't
Someone
even have
would
one
come
nemesis.
up. Yeah, and then of course you're smaller, and then you gain more muscle, and then you jump weight class. So when I first competed, I was a middleweight, but I was tall, like 5'8". So when you're a middleweight and you're 5'8", and you're weighing like under 125 pounds, you're lean compared to someone who is 5'4".
Yeah.
You know, and. Yeah, so truly, like if you were tall and lean, you had to be heavier, you had to be bigger. So it took me a while to build muscle, but when I finally won provincials in 1986, I won provincials as a heavyweight.
Which is how heavy?
I think you just had to be over 125.
Okay.
Yeah, and so then for the next 2 years, I competed. Because once you won your category, you never had to go back. Like you never had to go back and win that category again. You always had the eligibility to go on to compete at the next level. So for the next 3 years, I competed at Western Canadians, and I placed like 3rd and 4th or whatever. But I was still competing as a heavyweight, too small. You know, a tall, lean heavyweight. So for 1989, is it okay to just keep telling this? Okay, yeah. So this is the journey.
You're the guest.
Yeah.
So we're listening.
Well, this is the bodybuilding
exactly.
journey.
Oh,
so it was always like, oh, back to the gym. You know, train more. back to the gym. And
were you always training with like Pat, wherever Pat?
I would train with
mostly.
Pat was training me for the most part, and then.
And so, sorry, just to build on this. Who's Pat?
Pat Malone, he has Ironworks Gym, and apparently, I've been friends with him for 30 years. He had a gym before that he's never told me about. None of us can remember the name. But anyway, that's what I meant, like, training with him, but also in his facility.
Yeah.
Like,
and
then, good music there too, right?
It's unpredictable.
But then I didn't train at Ironworks the whole time, so I will have to say I did abandon Ironworks because Gold's Gym moved to town. And I got a job there as a trainer. And... then it was so I trained at Gold.
Okay.
And I had the classic black and yellow and red gold stuff, and that's what anyway, that was pretty cool. And the Gold's Gym headquarters was Winnipeg, and the Winnipeg guys would always come, and they would really, encourage us to, train and whatever. So there was the Gold's Gym thing, and then World Gym opened up. And I trained there for a while, and it was because of the way the gyms were set up around the city, and a new gym would open up, and then the crowd would shift. They would try out the new gyms and stuff. So I started with Pat, and then I just kind of moved around, and then there were other people training that.
Did you ever do a stint at 29 Palms?
Yes, I trained at 29 Palms.
Right.
And
California Fitness.
Never at California Fitness, but 29 Palms for sure.
Having a great day.
That's right.
And that actually I'd kind of forgotten all those times. I can't remember why I would have moved, but it was probably because of.
Well, some of them literally closed.
Yes, and some of them closed
overnight.
Yes, and also proximity to your house and proximity to work, and who else is training there? Yeah. But I did train for a long time, I have to say, with Morris Sulahub, and everybody knows him as Sully. He was my training partner for a long time, and he was probably my most dedicated training partner. So we trained together, and I would say Morris is probably the one that if I remember correctly, in the last 3 or 4 years, Morris. I trained with him right up until... I call him Morris. I have never called him Morris to his face. His name is Sully. Sully. So I trained with Sully right up until Canadians. But by that time, also, I had a different trainer. I'd hired a trainer to train me, and I'd hired a nutritionist.
And so in Saskatoon, or were these people from outside the province by phone? Or?
No, they were people within the province that I just kind of thought were...
back then? Because
you know what? I can't remember. It was... I know his first name was Don, and I forget his last name.
Not the Kowalchuk.
Yeah, Kowalchuk. Donnie Kowalchuk.
Yeah. I mean, so...
And
he went on, and he won North Americans.
Yeah. Donnie trained me for the last few years. He trained me
We had some... For people that... I'm just going to kind of frame some of this for people that are listening. So what Alison's also talking about is during this period in the 80s, I mean, I'm just speculating, but I think I'm factually correct. There was this weird thing that Saskatchewan was putting out disproportionately extremely competitive national and North American level qualified athletes. Like, we had our Mr. Canadas were going up and winning North Americas, like this Don Qual. Like, it was crazy. Like, right, and Darren Dumba, remember that is another name?
Yeah.
And then Alison was one. Like, it was crazy, right in the 80s. And there weren't other paths. Like, what we talk about today, Nick, is there's so many different avenues to go through all these different competitions. Back then, you literally did Moose Jaw, then you did the provincial, and you did the Westerns and Nationals. And that was it. Like, there was no other way to get around it.
Yeah.
So you were either serious or you weren't, because you had to funnel through.
Mm-hmm.
And Saskatchewan would funnel through these people in the 80s when the sport was relatively new. And we would always end up in the magazine. It was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, but for... So now I'm remembering, like, at the same time I was training, Donnie Kowalchuk was training, and everybody was getting their nutrition advice from Lovey Wazalowski, which is
right.
I'm so
Nature's Health
curious
Center.
about nutrition.
Back then,
because when you wanted to put on weight to move up a weight class, like us growing up, you didn't know nutrition, you didn't know science, you didn't know, there was no internet, not a lot of books, maybe a Joe Weider book you found somewhere
there
kicking
were
around.
Experts, like people like you had to seek out people who knew what they were talking about. I remember in the Western Canadians in 1989, because I remember, I don't remember it at the time, but I remember because I watched the broadcast afterwards. Everybody from Saskatchewan had listed Lovey as thanked Lovey for her new, and like the commentator's like, who is this Lovey? Like, who is Lovey?
So this is how crazy this whole community is. You train at Ironworks in Grosvenor Park Mall. Lovey's nutrition shop was right on the other side. Like by the Superstore.
Yeah.
It was just on that peninsula part.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's where...
So does that not exist anymore?
It could be. I mean, I don't know where she's at, but I mean, but it was crazy.
She's about the same age as me because I think we went to high school at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And did you use supplements? Like,
so
I'm just trying to process your nutrition plan. Then.
So when I wanted to move up weight classes, so I would go to Lovey, and so Lovey is the one that helped me win provincials, because the reason I kept coming second is I was close but not quite sharp enough. Couldn't do it myself. What I needed was to let go managing my own event and let someone. I just wanted to tell me what to eat, tell me what to lift, tell me when to lift it, and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And here's the money. And we got actually a grant at a couple of years in a row. They gave us a elite athlete grant. So that was a weird thing, but I took advantage of it. And of course, so supplements. So with Lovey, we were all clean. And I was never not clean. So supplements were simply like amino acids and vitamins and all that stuff. That's it. And food and training.
Yeah.
But so
totally
I can't speak for everybody if they were clean, but I was clean, and another woman at the time, Kelly Mooney, she was the lightweight at the time. She was phenomenal, but she still looks that way. Like, she looks that way naturally. It was very unfair. But she looks exactly like she did back then too, so she'd be a great person to talk to. And then Debbie, forget Debbie, but Debbie beat me one year or two, just kind of swooped in and beat me. But she was a good person, and I didn't mind her beating me. But anyway, so in terms of the nutrition, it was just a matter of learning to eat right and eat more and train harder.
Did you count calories, or
no?
They just said, here's what you're eating.
Here's what you're eating. Here's what you need to eat. Here's when you need to eat it.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I kind of the same my whole life. Like, that established my eating pattern and my life commitment to that way of eating. I haven't had a piece of codfish since 1989. That's all we ate. And if I ever ate one, I'm sure I would just throw up right away.
PTSD.
Oh,
lots of people have that with chicken breasts. They're just like, I'm
Super
done with
lean,
chicken. Just unseasoned.
But I eat clean. This is as clean as I ever ate before. Like, and it used to annoy the crap out of people that I would always not want to eat that. And I don't apologize for not wanting to eat.
It's still like that today, though.
Yeah.
Like everywhere with everybody. If you're like, I'm not gonna just have it.
No.
Yeah, I got that a lot. Like, just eat it. Like, what's it gonna hurt?
Well, in the 80s in particular, like you were.
Yeah, it would have been worse.
This is where I kind of go back to this pioneering point, right? Like, it's one thing for a guy to kind of say, but even in the 80s, like, to your question, we didn't know what was going on with nutrition. So even for a guy
I was
to
going
roll
to
up
Burger King for Whoppers after workouts because
But the women, when I talk to women in the gym, like, there's women in the gym now who are training, at all these competitions where I really don't get, the whole figure and the whatever. I don't get that. But I'm not trying to be critical. I just don't get it. I don't see what So the women who are in those categories now, the figure, not bodybuilding. Yeah. Bodybuilding women now are massively bigger than bodybuilding women back then. We were more like the figure or the fitness. And I'm not even sure if they do fitness anymore in the category.
Wellness, don't they?
Well, I honestly think they've got, last time I looked, I think the women below bodybuilding might have 5 groups now.
Yeah,
right?
I can't even keep track.
So I think there's wellness, there's fitness, there's bikini.
Yeah.
Oh, bikinis though.
Bikini,
yeah.
but there's I should know all these, but
figure.
So there are at least 4 that they've broken, and then there's bodybuilding, which has become a niche, right? So there are 5 compared to when you were doing it.
Yeah. And there was no shoes.
Oh, yeah.
And you couldn't wear
heels.
You couldn't wear your hair down.
Makeup.
You couldn't wear makeup. You couldn't wear
My wife did
jewelry.
figure in 2012, and then we look at what the figure looks like today, and they're more like the bodybuilders of 2012.
Exactly.
The figure people,
Yeah.
like girls in particular.
Yeah.
But the women that I talk to in the gym, because whenever I see somebody getting ready to competition, I'm like, "Are you getting ready to compete? Tell me what are you doing?" And I used to judge, blah blah blah. I just kind of because I'm interested.
Yeah.
And they don't eat like we do. They eat way differently. Like I don't know how magically it's different, but they eat. Their range of foods that they eat is different.
Yeah.
But I also don't know what they're taking.
Yeah.
I don't, I just take everybody at face value, whatever. But the way we used to eat, like, for example, if I'd have known sooner that I was coming here, I'd probably have carb depleted all week. So I'd be really tight when I got here. Veiny.
Yeah. But these are...
Yeah.
Because you... Sorry, keep going. Because this is what you're working through now, is how you do all this naturally, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean...
Yeah,
Alison was all over this back then.
There was only... So fast forward to the Canadians in 1989. So I had seen Canadians before. Canadians, and I had been... And I was already judging. I was already judging at the... Even though I was still competing, it's already judging at the Western Canadian level. And so I'd seen lots of athletes who were, a range of athletes. And there were lots of women who were taking drugs. And I remember this is actually really very funny. This was in my first time going to Western Canadians, or maybe it was my second. Anyway, so we weigh in. And after we weigh in, go back to the dressing room, and we're getting ready to do the morning part, which I don't even think they do anymore. Like, it was the morning, you do the morning competition, you do your routine in the morning. You got to do your routine twice, morning and evening. And all these girls had their boyfriends or whoever they were, in the locker room with them, like just helping them oil up and everything. And that used to really... Is it okay to say it used to piss me off?
We promote swearing on
okay,
here,
all right. It used to really piss me off because, it's the women's locker room, and I don't want that guys in there. Like, I want some time to think and whatever. And there was all this stuff going on. So I heard this conversation between this guy and this girl, and I'm like, okay, I've had it. And I was, I'm probably irritable because I hadn't eaten. So I go around the corner, I'm like, hey, it was not a guy. Was a girl, and it was ended up being the winner of that weight class that year, and she had an extremely deep voice.
Yeah.
And you could just see, like, it was just like this, and she had the square chin, and she had the bad skin, and I just kind of, and I went, no, nothing, it's all good, all good. Back around the corner, I'm like, oh man, that really. What basically happened was, in the year that I qualified for Canadians, I came fourth. And I want to say by a hair. Had to be just by a hair. But everybody above me was clearly not clean. Mm. So I was pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
And so then I was a little bit discouraged because I came fourth, but the top 5 got to go, and that was in the spring of 1989, and Saskatoon was hosting Canadians in the fall of 1989.
I went to that.
And so, and there was a group of Saskatchewan people. The team was like, I think there was 9 of us. Darren Dumba was one, Jim Ostrander was another, Kelly Mooney was one. It might even have been Tracy McCurley. I'm not even sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so because I qualified, I thought, well, I'm not going to qualify again. This is do it now or never do it. And my husband and I were thinking, well, because he was fed up by then with me always competing, which meant that, I'm always
angry.
I'm always angry. And I'm always hungry. I'm always hangry. And, the lifestyle, like, you couldn't be away from the gym. Like, you couldn't go for 2 weeks somewhere because you had to train and all that.
You don't know anything about that.
Yeah. And so then I figured, well, I might as well go to Canadians. I'd like to try that. So I trained all summer. and I ended up placing 6th out of 9 or 10 or something, which I thought was a pretty respectable finish. And but everybody above me was bigger and clearly, and it was the culture had changed from the time I started to then. It was like the only way you were going to win is if you took some kind of enhancement.
Okay. So
You
that was
had
in
to.
like 8 years, right? From kind of when you started to that, did it progress that much from a performance enhancing standpoint?
Well, I don't know, because you don't really see the big field until you get to the regionals. And you don't see the you don't, and also Saskatoon's a small place, and so we didn't have a huge population, but the people that were there were from they were from Vancouver, and they were from Winnipeg, and they were from Toronto, much bigger pool of people that were there now to compete, and they were there to get their pro card. You had to win the nationals, and then they were there for that purpose.
Got it. So
it was a very eye-opening for me. It was like, there's nowhere to go from here as a clean athlete. And what's the point now? So that was the aha moment for me. The
So are you
epiphany.
grappling with this?
What, with staying natural?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say grappling with it, because I haven't even done my first show yet. I'm about a year out from doing my first show. I don't have any plans of becoming an enhanced athlete. So I think it's a little.
just maybe tell us where you were on the weekend.
Oh yeah, well I was at the show this past weekend that I'm gonna be in next year. We were there for Adil, one of our buddies at Ironworks. He competed in men's physique, his first show as well, and he placed first in his class, I think, right? Second overall.
So is this a provincial show, or is it a
It's a it's
a professional show?
It's put on for anyone in the country to come to.
Okay.
But generally speaking, it just draws people from the province.
Yeah.
But there are people that come from other provinces to
Yeah.
use it as a way to qualify up, right,
Okay.
to nationals and things like that.
Yeah, because you can qualify for Vancouver, and
Right.
things like that.
So do they still have the tiers, where you have to compete as a novice, and then you have to then you compete as a no? So and they're all, are they all these shows, these professional?
These are commercial shows now.
Commercial shows, yeah.
Promoted shows.
Does the Saskatchewan Amateur Bodybuilding Association still exist?
So
No.
I think it does, and it's interesting. Well, you might know this, but what they call the Saskatchewan Provincial Championship, I believe, still happens in the spring, because this is the fall, down in Regina. And I went to it a couple of years ago, and it was really not what it was when you were doing it. It was a big deal because it was the only place, and everyone went there, right? Whereas I think this Golden Prairie Cup,
From what I've heard, it's bigger. Isn't it?
no, this is the one, and
Yeah.
and the lady that's put it on is done. She was a pro bodybuilder from here, and she's done a good job building it up. But it's exactly like the model of all these other promoted shows. So it's got all the divisions for all the women, all the ages, right, masters all the way down, and then same thing for the men's.
Yeah, it goes from men's physique, which is the one where they wear the board shorts, and it's upper bodies judged. And then there's classic physique, where they have it's underwear basically, and then the open class, they call it bodybuilding, I think, where you have the thong. So.
But so the conversation you and I had, so the deal like this, because you talk about, for those that are listening, Mike asked the question about the evolution of the sport in the decade that you were in it. And the sport is going through the same thing in this rapid 5-year period right now.
Yeah.
But as a reference point, you and I, Nick, we talked about how they actually, I've never seen this before, but it just shows you how the thing is skewed for popularity. It used to be bodybuilding was the icon, right? And the stepchild was classic physique, and then if you were in board shorts only, you were that's just useless, right? That's how they used to be. Now, this show here, go ahead.
That was the highlight of the show.
The board shorts?
Men's physique and the board shorts, yeah. There wasn't even
I think, more than 3 guys that did classic physique this year.
And then
there was one guy that was an open, right?
Yeah, in bodybuilding.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was totally, and they actually had the order of the show flipped.
Yeah,
Because
men's physique was last showcase.
The board shorts were like on fire because it's attainable, right? As a physique look.
No, honestly, that was a shock to me too. Like, I would have thought it would have gone men's physique to classic to open.
That's the way it historically had been. But the sport has evolved so much since you did, Alison.
It's a completely different entity.
So what's interesting that we're talking to you today is because in a way you represent that period that a lot of people reminisce about, right? They say, oh, like that was a golden era, the classic coming right on the heels of Pumping Iron in the mid-70s. You were at the beginning of the 80s. You were at the Corey Everson, Pumping Iron for women, Rachel McLeod, all that stuff, right? And then you look at what it is now, and it looks a bit freakish to a lot of people on the street. But coincidentally this week, and tell this story about how it might be shifting again because this guy came on the German side.
Urs.
Yeah.
Well, there's this professional bodybuilder that's well known. We follow him on social media, know who he is. He competed in classic physique for most of his career now, and he's moved up a division from classic physique into open. So he's put on, I think, 40 pounds, something close to 35 pounds in the span of not even a year.
Of muscle?
Because he would have competed in classic physique about a year ago in October. It hasn't been a full year yet, and he's now competed in 2 open shows at 40 pounds heavier and won both of them. So he's on his way up, and he still carries like this classic physique look with him, even though he's put on so much size. Because the open division now it's all about mass and who's the biggest guy on the stage. Where I think it's gone astray from what it was back in the day of the era of Arnold, and it was all about proportions and flow and symmetry. But we're thinking now, maybe with some of these classic physique competitors, we're seeing quite a few now that are going into open, that maybe that look's going to hopefully start to come back in a way.
Because what you see now is when I looked at when Alison was training, and even like Pat and all these guys, Pat went to Mr. Universe. You guys put in a decade, like it was a decade solid of like total sacrifice to train, and it was incremental of like a couple pounds a year, right?
Absolutely.
Right? It was not 20 pounds or anything like that, right? Because so today the way they do this, right? Like they just go through the chemical process. And so then what happens is the physique, the tissue, looks like slabs of clay just kind of slapped together. And it's a very different look from the 70s,
Slow
80s.
building.
Yeah, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then and so now what you're seeing is these classic physique guys who were, that category was to try to get back to what Alison was involved with. They're now kind of sizing out of that requirement, and now they're coming up into the open, but they're looked properly. So now the fan base is actually kind of swinging back because they don't want to see the bubble guts, the big guys that can they don't even look like a proper structure, X-frame or anything. And so a couple of these guys, Chris Bumstead did it last year from Canada. He went up, he almost won. And I think it's cool because what you were involved with, when you look at pictures of Pat or yourself, you're still on the gym wall at Ironworks. Nick's trying to get on there.
I was on it briefly. They had a thing of like all members that had something, and he had to decide. No, I had a photo from my first fight, and it was on there. But then everything got taken down.
You were on there. That's
right. I was on there for a while. But then he took it all down. He just never put it back up or gave me a picture back.
I remember that picture.
Yeah. So, so for you endured the renovation.
Oh my gosh!
So there you go.
I'm loving that. Yeah.
I have an Ironworks story that I remember you from. I started, Ron Vaz from rugby. You guys know Ron Vaz a little bit. So he was a teacher in 1989 at Evan Hardy, and I started. He came to me and said he saw me lifting. I was in grade 9. He said we got to start a weight club. It was his first year teaching at Evan Hardy, and we started the weight club there and started lifting. So that's when I started actually lifting and realized that I put on muscle quickly as well. But then I get done school and I was kind of bumming around for a year, and then a couple of guys I worked with were like, we got to go to Ironworks, or you got to come with us to Ironworks. And I go to Ironworks and I started trying to just sponge up all the information. And there's a few people in the gym that look pretty confident walking around, and you're one of them. And I left everyone. I just put my head down. I wanted to listen. The people I felt comfortable with, to ask questions to. But you and I talked about like pumping up people when we leave the gym, and this is I kind of took this from you, and I don't know if you even did this, but like I leave the gym. Pardon me?
Broadway?
No, this was in '94. I came over to Grosvenor, and I think he had just moved there in '93 or something. But like we were talking about, just like fist bump people, pump them up, tell them. But I think you came over, and I was doing chin ups on the machine right in the.
Did I correct you or something?
No, you didn't. You asked me if I was a gymnast.
Oh, did I?
You asked me if I was a gymnast, and I said no. I started working out here, and he said, "Well, you have that like V gymnast kind of physique or whatever." And I think I introduced myself, and we said hi to each other after that. But I never forgot. That was like a big compliment. Oh, okay. That was the first time anyone in the gym like kind of acknowledged, "Hey, you look like you work out." In a way, right? You know what I mean? You're asking me if I was a gymnast was like the first compliment I got that somebody noticed I was lifting weights.
I got Russian hockey player once at the gym.
They said, "Are you a Russian hockey player?" Yeah. Oh, is that a compliment?
That was last week? Or?
You're missing a tooth?
Back when I was really fit. Yeah.
But that was when I first, but I just remember you being there.
Really nice.
As part of, and there was a crew that worked out. Like I can't remember if then I was late morning or early afternoon, but there was the same, and I think it's the same today as like
it would have probably been, if it was me, it would have been early afternoon, because I would have come after work. I would have come after school,
right? And it was like that's when I was going there, and there's still a group of like guys that are my age or older there that they're still, they've been going there. And about 3 years ago I wandered around and asked each guy, whose name I don't know, but I know where they work and everything, how long they've been there. And like, there's even a few guys that they've been going there. They're not the hardest core lifters, but I'm just like, man, you were here when I got here. And then when did you start? And then these guys are like, yeah, I've been here 30 years, or more. And it's kind of it's just a neat place. Like,
well, I'm sure if I went down into Pat's gym and worked out there'd be faces that I would remember.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. And there'd be attires that still are being worn.
What's that?
There would be attire that is still being worn from back then. Like it's a time warp in some ways. Like it's cool, and it's also a bit scary.
Oh, it's iconic though.
We've got you to the 90s.
Uh-huh.
What's happened since then? Teacher, still very fit.
Okay, so 89 Canadians, and so just leading up to that, my husband and I had a couple discussions. Husband at the time, how long are you going to do this? Because it interferes with everything, and especially for a woman, like we well, not just that, but we were going to have a baby, and then we were going to have a family. So I said, so he would have probably liked me to quit. Well, he would have liked me to stop sooner, because it was interfering with, vacation time and commitment and all that. And it wasn't cheap, like it wasn't a cheap sport, really. It wasn't super expensive compared to now, but you invested a lot of money in supplements and training and food. And I remember a guy at Walter Murray, another teacher, saying to me, when you're dieting for competition, you eat like a horse. You eat way more than I ever see you eat normally. It's kind of true, Anyway, I said to him, I can't quit this because you want me to quit. I have to quit it when I'm ready to quit it, because I will resent being made to quit it.
Good for you.
So the Canadians were this epiphany, like, okay, there's no way to go higher without doing something stupid. And what's the point?
Was that disappointing to you? Like, were you like a little bit crushed or disillusioned, or were you?
The disillusioned part was that people placed higher than me that were clearly on drugs, and I knew that I had a nice physique, and I knew I thought that doesn't really give you credit for all your hard work, so I was a little bit resentful of that, but I mean, it was the reality of the culture. I understood it. I wasn't, I could see it coming. So then, because you come to that realization on your own, it's easier to let it go. So that was good, and because it was my decision, my choice, I found it an easier decision to make. So then Like that was 89, and Jesse was born in May of 90. So, you know, that was the end of that. And that was, but I had seen in that kind of transition, I'd seen this woman in an article in, like, I don't know, what were the magazines at the time, like Muscle and Fitness or whatever. There was another one. It was Muscle and Fitness, and there was
Flex.
Flex, yeah. And she was being interviewed, and I think she was 52. And there were, you know, pictures. And I looked at her and I went, she's 52 and she's still training and she looks great. So, you know, that was 90. So she's been training since like the 70s. I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to stay fit. You know, I can still do this. I just don't have to compete. So when I let go of that, and of course, you know, getting pregnant and having a baby, it just kind of ended all that. And then it was also, so I want to be the best at everything. So I wanted to be the leanest pregnant person, and I wanted to be back into my regular clothes within 5 days of having the baby. You know, I always have these goals, which I did all of that. And so that was the aha moment where I can just be fit for life. And that's where I kind of started on that path of just being, you know, I never quit the gym.
Did your competitiveness spill over into other aspects of your life?
Always. In everything. But I never competed in any other sport other than for recreation, you know, like not. But I've always, so the competitiveness is like competing with myself. Like I want to, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it well. And I'm going to find out what I need to know to do it and to be the best at what I'm doing. So that competitiveness is definitely driven my whole life, you know, about
I think that's been a common theme with a lot of our guests, where you've got this natural, you can't turn it off in your head, your athleticism, but it spills over into so many different aspects of your life.
Exactly.
Whether it's business or family, or you want to read an article faster than your spouse, or whatever it is.
In Alison's case, art.
Well, and so the art was already going,
but
and then when I started teaching, I graduated from university in 84, and then I started teaching in 84 at Walter Murray. And then around 91 or so, like in high school, I had been a band geek, and the music teacher at Walter Murray, the band director, said, knew I was a band geek and had been a band geek. And even though you can suppress it, once you're a band geek for life. I just want to tell you this. And so he said, I'm conducting this adult band and you should come and play. And I'm like, I haven't played my flute since university. And that was like 8-9 years before. And so he said, I have a flute you can use. And I'm like, okay. So then I did that. And so within 1 year of doing that, I buy myself a new flute. I start taking lessons. I'm moved from the back row to the front row. And I've been playing ever since. And I play in several, and I play flute and piccolo in several ensembles. There's that. And then there's also the, you know, so if I'm going to play flute, I'm going to be good at it. I'm not going to be like a mediocre, whatever. I'm going to do what I have to do to be good at it.
No half-assing.
No half-assing, yeah. Which is why I don't golf. Because if you're going to golf, you got to be good at golf, and you got to put time in, and you got to
put
have
a bodybuilding amount of time in golf to get
and it is so boring. Like, you know, for 5 or 6 hours on a beautiful sunny day, like, there's no way I want to do that.
You could be rocketing through the trees on a mountain bike.
Yeah, I mean, the driving range was kind of fun, but that was about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then that did spill over into other things, like being a lifelong learner. You know, taking, like, the 10 days after I retired from teaching, I enrolled in a master's program.
Oh,
and
wow.
now I teach adults. I did a master's in adult ed in 2017, and I teach at the university in an adult non-degree art program.
Awesome. And
because after I retired from teaching, I don't say retired, it's like superannuated, changed it up. My mom said something to me, which is really, really, when I was getting close to retirement, she said, and she had retired when she was 65. Which is a little later than she wanted to, because my dad passed away when she was 60, and they were planning to do their retirement together, and that was not anticipated or expected. And so she worked a little bit longer. She was the head of the nursing program at diploma nursing program at Kelsey at the time, and she said that, and you had to retire at 65, like that was back then. And so she said that here's the thing about retirement. As I was approaching it, she said, walking the dog, traveling, going on vacation, working out, that's what you do on vacation. Retirement lasts a long time, and you need to find something purposeful to do. And it was extremely good advice. And my mom was an advocate for Ageist Voices. She was the president of the Saskatoon Council on Aging. She was the chair of the St. Paul's Hospital Foundation. She was the head of the, she wrote a history of nursing of the registered nurses. Anyway, she did tons. She worked as an unpaid CEO for about the next 25 years of her life once she retired. All her work was volunteer, but it was all the kinds of stuff that the amount of time and work she put in, she should have been drawing a big salary.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she instilled that in me, and it was super clear. Like, you can't just retire and do nothing, So that's what kind of spurred me on and made me aware that I needed to have a stronger plan than just I've been teaching for 32 years and I want to stop.
And then I saw in the bio you said too, I didn't know this, you've written a book about this a little bit. What's it called?
I've written 3 books.
No, I had 3 books.
Yeah.
We could talk about the other 2, but the last
book is called
it's about this.
It's about this. Yeah, it's about it's called 60 something. What's it called? Oh my God! Looking forward, looking back. Right. So it's about when I was 63, and that was the year that's how old my dad was when he passed away. And I remember clearly because I was 32 at the time, and I remember thinking, and he died really suddenly of some weird kind of autoimmune thing that just bang took him, and he hadn't really been sick a day in his life. But I remember thinking like it was such a shame. And he was gone so suddenly, but from my 32-year-old self perspective, he was old. What a shame, but he was 63. And then suddenly,
there we go.
Yeah. Now when you're 63, or when I was 60, that's when I wrote it, the same year that I was 63. And it was really, so it was looking back. How did I manage to get to 63? Like the things that brought me, which we've talked about, like the training and all that. And then what's the plan going forward? If I want to be like the time to plan to be 90 isn't when you're 89. The time to be planning to be 60 is when you're 30. The time to plan to be 90 is when you're 60. Yeah. So that's what that was about.
Yeah. And so go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, what's a day in the life now?
So I still teach, and so a typical day. So today's a pretty typical day, except for the podcast. I don't end my day with the podcast.
Daily interview.
Yeah. Photo shoot. So I have 2 dogs, and I'm married again. So I have a wonderful husband, but we don't live together. He lives in Prince Albert. I live in Saskatoon. He's a family doctor there, and so he's a couple years older than me. So he's still working. I'm still working, and so I get up in the morning. I have 2 dogs. We do our dog thing, and then I go to the gym. And
is the dog thing a walk?
The dog thing's a walk. Yeah,
you go for
big
a
dog
walk outside the house. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have an old dog and a young dog. So we do the old dog thing. Drop the old dog off. Go take the young dog. So it takes a long time to do the dog thing. And then I go to the gym, and then I come home, get ready.
Where are you training at?
I train at Snap Fitness.
Okay.
There's a Snap Fitness on Herald Court. Like that's right. I live in Lake Ridge, and Snap.
Yeah.
I was training before then at Motion, and when Snap Fitness opened, I went, oh, I don't have to drive that highway anymore and I can walk. So I walk over to the gym, which I love, and I walk all winter and stuff. So so I go to the gym, and then I come home, get ready to go to teach. I teach in the afternoons, 2 afternoons a week, 2 evenings a week. And then...
this is art?
Art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I teach adult non-degree art classes in painting in watercolor. And on Monday nights I have rehearsal. Tuesday nights I teach. Wednesday nights I teach. Thursdays for me. Thursdays are for classes that I take. So I take Italian and I take German. Now the reason I take those those languages, I'll tell you, and then I also take my flute lessons. So my flute, even though I've been playing the flute for like 55 years, a couple years ago I went back to my flute teacher that I'd had when I first, like when Nick said, come play. So I found her and she plays in the symphony, and she was my flute teacher for 15 years. And I came back to taking lessons with her about 3 years ago because another flute player joined our band. She's phenomenal. And she and I did recitals together. I thought, I want to go back and get coaching because you forget a lot, and I don't want to be crappy. I always want to be good at something, right? So I just decided I would bring my flute playing back up to level, and that's what I did. So Thursdays are for me, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday are my husband comes in and we hang out. Or if it's the summer, we go to the lake.
Fantastic.
That's pretty typical day. And mixed in with all of that, of course, is travel. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my son lives in Zurich, and I go travel to see him perform 2-3 times a year.
And doing what? We know.
But he's a professional ballet dancer. Mm-hmm. And he dances with Ballet Zurich in Switzerland. And he started dancing when he was 8. And trained at Royal Winnipeg when he was, moved there when he was 14. And then
How old is he?
He's 35.
Okay, my cousin went through Royal Winnipeg.
Really?
So,
yeah. So he went to Royal Winnipeg, and then when he graduated from Royal Winnipeg, he was kind of scouted by Stuttgart Ballet in Germany. So that was in 2010, and he moved to Stuttgart 2010. And in 2015, he moved to Zurich. He got asked to come to Zurich. So he's been in Zurich. This is starting his 11th season in Zurich. So his 16th season as a pro ballet dancer.
And living in Switzerland.
What's that?
And living in
Switzerland. And he's been in Switzerland long enough now that the end of this year, I think, like he's a permanent resident, but I think he qualifies for his Swiss passport at the end of this year. And he's fluent in German. So that explains the German. So back in 2010, he was moving to Stuttgart, and I was helping him move, and we were both taking German, so we would where's the bathroom, and wo ist die Toiletten, and, wie geht's, how are you, yes, help us, please. And but he's like, kids, I don't know, they have this ear for, he became quite fluent in German quickly, and for me, I struggled, it's a tough one, and I've been taking it ever since. But about 5 years ago, his partner is Italian, and his partner's parents didn't speak much English, of course, and I didn't speak much Italian. So the push was to learn Italian so that I can communicate with Enrico's parents. So I take Italian and German on
Vino, pasta. That's all you need to know.
And yeah, exactly, pasta, spaghetti, whatever.
Do you know what part of Italy?
Where they live?
Yeah.
Yeah, they live in Trento, which is in the northern boot.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, in the I think it's the Dolomites, the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Great cycling there.
Yeah,
I bet.
Well, my dad's side of the family.
Yeah, I was going to say Lorenzo, right?
Yeah, from Potenza, Italy.
So where is that? I don't know. South. Oh,
yeah.
from the south.
Yeah, down south.
So how's your Italian?
Horrible. I don't speak a lick of it. So.
Your dad?
I can't generate it, but I can. I'm getting better at it.
Like a few words and stuff, but yeah, I don't speak it. Dad doesn't speak it.
Was he born?
My dad wasn't. No, his mom was, and then her and her whole family were from there, and they came over, migrated over to Canada, and there's still a bunch of them that are there sure. that I've never met. So, yeah.
Well, it's a beautiful place. Right?
And how old are you now? I know my wife's going to kill me for
67.
This, but really?
Yeah.
I would not have guessed.
You know what? So I have to say, so we train at Waskesiu. There's an outdoor gym there, like one of these great, with the chins and whatever. And about 5
show
years.
up all the youngsters there.
What's that?
You show up all the youngsters
Well,
there.
the youngsters don't train. They
dangle on it.
They
Climb on it.
We're the only ones there usually, my husband and I. But about 5 years ago, like I would always train on, like when we travel to Zurich or travel to Stuttgart, I was always, where's the gym?
Yeah.
Zurich especially is very difficult because it's so expensive. Like a drop-in in Zurich is 39 francs, which is about
bucks.
$55 for a drop-in. It's cheaper to buy a month membership and train there for 2 weeks for 200 francs than it is to drop in.
And they're not as commonplace. I used to go to Austria all the time, and I found it difficult to find a gym because they wanted to go climb a mountain or,
Well, there's lots of gyms around, but they don't want you dropping in. They want you to pay your $5,000 a month membership. They don't want you. So Zurich is very elite. Yeah. Stuttgart was better. There was more typical gyms that we would have here. You could drop in, pay your 15 francs or whatever, or your 15 euros, we started using the bands and the outdoor gyms. And deciding that we didn't need to spend money like that when we were there. And so that was about 5 years ago. We started doing that so that, and it became a great way of taking a break from the gym and training, but training differently. So I literally, when I get to Zurich, like I take 3 different stretches of bands, and my husband has 2, so his are a little bit bigger and whatever. So we take those in our luggage, take them to Hawaii too. The AARP, they have these great outdoor gyms that are designed for the bands, so we do that in Hawaii as well. But anyway, so we find we go to the park. Like we go for a walk, and we go to the park along the lake in Zurich, there's lots of spaces, and there's tons of rocks. So we find a nice platform, and we go, okay, that feels like a 25-pound rock. And this feels like a 30-pound.
It's like the Flintstones.
I'm not kidding.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
we do lifts with the rock, we do pushes with the rock, we do squats with the rock, we do the bands and that kind of stuff.
You got to get some video pictures, send it to
amazing.
us. We're gonna post it. That's a classic.
Well, it's just a way of staying fit. It's mostly mental health.
Oh, that's all it is.
To stay fit during that time and to be. You can do a lot with the bands, but just to be out there in the open air, and like Zurich never gets cold, like it doesn't get snowfall like we do. So even when I'm there at Christmas, we're still just training in like a puffer and a whatever. So you can train outdoors.
So when you talk about training like unconventionally with rocks or Flintstone style, you wrote this book. So I'll plug the book. It was Confessions of a Dancing Mom.
Confessions of a Dance Mom.
Dance mom, okay.
Yeah.
And so this is about Jessie.
I'm not a dancing mom. Let me just clarify.
Sorry, I'm okay.
There's no dancing happening here.
Fair enough. So, but it's about Jessie's career and how you supported it. Yeah. But I'm curious because I've met him. Because my youngest was briefly in that space. And the interesting thing about Jessie is that Jessie's tall. Like he's
6'3".
6, right? So they're like tall for a ballet dancer. And I guess when we were talking to you, that Stuttgart troupe was actually known for having quite tall dancers, right? Mm-hmm. So and he's a physically imposing guy. So when I look at the picture that's on the cover and all this, I mean, how do you and Jessie, and have you talked about training in that space? Because I'm fascinated by their physiques look in some way. Like if you saw Jessie, he would look like he could probably win a classic physique contest on the natural side, like instantly, because he's just 100% complete, right? Like from ankles up, calves, the flow is better than a gymnast, because gymnasts can get a bit overblown on some points. So, like, what does he do, or has he talked to you about it, or is it just
you
totally
mean about
separate?
training?
Yeah, like just being so athletic for so long, and what a career that's been.
For me or for him?
For him. Yeah.
Yeah, like he...
And talking to you.
When he was... before he was into dance, he was in gymnastics.
Okay.
So he did Taiso gymnastics from like age 8 to age 12.
Okay, there you go.
And then he moved over but it was a good call for him to move over because he got so tall. And gymnasts can't be 6'3", they need to... But anyway, so he just loved dance. And but the level that he's at, like he combines like, so I go to watch him. Like, by the way, I just went in June for 2 weeks. This is my 37th trip over since 2010 to watch him because I don't want to miss anything. He doesn't work in a bank. He works on the stage, and I want to see everything. And it's going to end soon. Yeah. And I didn't want to ever feel that I didn't go and see everything I could see, you know? Because if your kid was playing football, you'd go watch every game that you could see, right? Would you miss a game? Probably not. Anyway, so they train every day. So they train 6 days a week. Yeah. And their training day is class in the morning, and then which lasts like say from 10 till 11:30, and then they get a short break, and then the rest of the day is rehearsal, and it's tough.
So what is like the training for that period where you see training? Is it's athletic, like preparatory to be fitter type training and get the
it's ballet class,
flexibility and stuff?
Like ballet class is. I remember Lance Armstrong once saying that he took ballet class and he said it was the hardest thing he'd ever done in his life.
I don't think it's any joke at all.
So ballet class is the basic moves and combinations and jumps, and like it's a very, very stressful or very, very physically stressful hour and a half. Mm-hmm. That's just warming you up for your day.
And no headphones and thunderstruck. Right?
It is beforehand. Everyone's in their little world, stretching and kind of getting whatever. And then when the class starts, it's like pianist, classical music, ballet master, and everyone is watching. There's a correction. Everyone watches that correction because you're taking it in yourself. Like it's discipline.
It's intense.
It is intense. It was very disciplined in school, and even in the professional level, I'm always impressed at their professionalism and at their intensity and their commitment, and so then the rest of the day is rehearsal, and then sometimes that if they have a show that night, they might have a brief rehearsal, and then they would get the afternoon to kind of recoup, or a few hours anyway, and then they would have a show that night. But the typical day, and he's not usually done till 6 and sometimes because in the opera house they compete with the opera. And scheduling wise, and so sometimes the stage rehearsal doesn't start till 7, and then they have the rehearsal in the evening. So that's a typical day, and that's a 6-day week. And in that 6-day week, there's probably shows, and there's never just one show on. It's always like the ballet is in this 6-week period. They might have, like, let's just say for example Giselle, and then a night of this other show where there's 3 different pieces that they're doing, and then they're doing Giselle, and then they're doing this one. So like I think it was 97 performances a year or something one year.
Wow. Like there's not a lot of time for like going to the gym because it's got to be a full meal deal.
Yeah, but he still does go to the gym. That's the interesting thing, is that he goes to the gym because the men are almost like always like the men are, they're lifting. The ladies, like even a 97 pounder is a hard person to deadlift.
And to do it with proper form, and you can't just fire them up at the air.
I remember sitting in the ballet class once in the Royal Winnipeg, and the teacher saying, "And gentlemen, remember, if she falls, it's your fault, because you're holding her, or you're supporting her, or you're doing whatever." So the women are much less. The women don't have upper body muscle at all, but the men are, and I've noticed that the men are bigger. Like I think that's changed a little bit too. Like that the men, there's a lot more muscle in the men, and they're all just like so ripped. Like when you see them on stage together, it's like it's like 8-pack.
It's crazy. I mean, I think gymnasts and ballet dancers in particular, men. I mean, it's bodybuilding, you can get there, right? Yeah. Right? But, like, in terms of form of performance that creates that, like, those two physiques that come out of this.
So my cousin she went through the Royal Winnipeg and now has a dance school in Ottawa. Her brother is a Broadway musical performer. Wow.
Oh, cool.
And, like, the days, I think, are very similar in how they prep. And he weight trains in order to be able to perform on stage, and voice trains and everything else, but the days are long and intense, and excruciating. It's amazing how much work goes into that nightly show.
And so my experience is they make it look easy.
Oh yeah.
When you see the show, you're like, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
But so 5 minutes of him singing on stage, is a lifetime of training to deliver. Like when you're on stage, I wrote that in the Confessions of a Dance Mom book, is that the audience expects perfection. They don't expect you to screw up. They don't expect you to miss a fouette or to drop somebody or to miss a note, and so that
professionals.
Yeah. And I remember having this discussion with Paul Trottier, who owns Hughes Art Supply, and he's a painter, and we have had lots of interesting discussions about philosophy. And one of the things he says is that people ask him, well, how long did it take you to make that painting, to paint that painting? So, for example, like, how long did it take you to paint that? And he's like, well, 5 hours and 35 years. Right? Because it's all your knowledge and all your skill and all your whatever. And it's the same with the dancers. Like, you see them on stage and they're up, and they might be on stage for 5 minutes, but that 5 minutes took them 20 years of discipline and training to be able to execute that so perfectly.
You mentioned
guards.
Yeah, really.
You mentioned
That's a good one.
it will end soon. So I'm assuming you're talking about the longevity of the dancer.
Of the athlete.
Of the athlete. So what is what is your son's idea of how many more years he thinks he can do it, or is there kind of a cap that happens whether he likes it or not?
No, like, it's varied. Like, some people have danced well into their 40s. And and some of the guys can dance. Like the last 3 women that retired from Zurich in the last few years were all 40 plus. And they were phenomenal still. And the same with the guys. The roles that you get, that you take on, that are assigned to you as a 35-year-old female, you're not going to be dancing Juliet. Yeah. Right? Unless it's your swan song. Unless it's like you're dancing it because you danced it when you were 20 and now you're retiring and then But the men can pull off Romeo quite a lot longer, because they're youthful looking, like. So the roles that you dance change as you age. Jesse's in great shape. He had an surgery a year ago for meniscus, and come back from that, and lots of discussion. Like, should this be the time? And I know. I think I can speak for him because we've talked a lot. Is that he wants to make the call? He doesn't want the call to be made for him.
We haven't heard that before.
Yeah,
exactly. So, but it has to do with, like, it catches up with you eventually. Also, what's happening around you? Like, what's the season look like? What are the pieces that are coming up? Like, am I interested in keeping on doing this? Like, how long do I want to do this? And also, I have to start making, like, he's started to make plans about what to do after this career. Like, every athlete, like, like the Rough Riders, Trevor Harris, they always talk about how old he is. I'm like, he's a baby. Like, from my perspective, look at him, he's prime, and they keep talking about how amazing it is that he's this old. I'm like, could we just leave the number out of it? Let's just talk about what an athlete he is, So anyway, the number doesn't really mean anything. There's no set, to answer your question, there's no set number, but it's when you feel that you probably, you're going to feel it when you need to move on. I think he's starting to feel that, but I do know that he wants to make that call. So he's enrolled in a course in graphic design. So that's what he thinks he'd like to do after. So he's transitioning from that career to this other career.
Amazing. Always need an exit.
Yeah. Will you put in a good word for us to get him on the podcast?
Absolutely.
I mean, Mike just mentioned it quietly over here. I mean, like that. I mean,
he's an old guard.
Yeah. How old is he now?
He's 35.
Yeah. So
and he's been dancing since he was 8.
Yeah, I mean, so that's 30,000 hours. Right
Yeah,
there.
we were big fans of Malcolm Gladwell, and at one point when he was in, I think it was like towards the last year of his ballet school training, like at the Royal Winnipeg, he was there, and we were adding up his hours. You know, like you got about 8,000 hours in on this, you know.
You're getting close.
10,000 hours makes you an expert.
Yeah.
Now I was trying to add up my training hours.
You got 50,000.
I got lots of training hours.
Oh,
You got, but this is
we got quite a bit around the table.
big time. I mean, this is we talk about kind of how the old guard athletics community gets formed, right? And you need a metric, otherwise it's subjective. So you nailed it. Like that scientific definition of expertise is 10,000 hours. So then when we were all chatting about it, so Jay, how many years have you been doing this? And he said, well, okay, like there's 40,000 hours. So in theory, not being egotistical, but like Jay has.
Makes me feel like I can actually have weight behind my opinions when you think of it that
But
way.
you earned it, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the
All of
beauty of
us.
this conversation is
And you're on the road, my friend.
he's 10,000 hours in already, and I was just to kind of mindful of our time here too, but love to have Jesse come on for all kinds of reasons. But the one I wanted to sync up between the two of you is, I mean, you're both teachers at different spectrums of the chronology here, but so he's an amazing poser in bodybuilding. He hasn't competed yet, but if you go and check out his Instagram, you'll be blown
Lorenzo
away.
lifts.
I'm going to do that.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, this.
Of course I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, so this is your son manifested over here.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's interesting that just the similarities of where you are, both teaching, career paths, the ability to be kind of superheroes to people at that time. They're looking for role models. I mean, that we all. I ran into a guy at the gym today. Say, guess who's coming on the podcast this week? And so there's a guy that was in high school with me at that time, and he goes, no way. And I go, yeah. And you were known, right, as an inspiration to a lot of people. And so we talk about this with Nick. That's why he came on to some degree, is because you said you go into school today, and you know, we might have been, as a society, more athletic back then, actually, and I think we're less now, and you've got an influence. And so there's a lot of things that off even the podcast, it'd be cool for you guys to stay connected, I think, at all kinds of levels. But yeah, you got to check out his Instagram, plug it, because people are listening. What is it?
Lorenzo lifts.
Yeah.
It's _ Lorenzo lifts.
Well, when I met you in the lobby and you told me you taught, and I said, I bet the kids love you. Right?
Yeah.
I bet they really look up to him.
Big time. And he's, you know, we found out that, I mean, he had a multiple black belt in Taekwondo by the time you were 14.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same, right? Like you've kind of somehow just woke up when you were born, and you have this drive to.
Well, the thing is, you don't get good at something unless you put in the time. And I remember teaching high school and talking with grade 12s who had no idea what they still wanted to do. And yet Jesse had been training for his career already since he was 8. And I'm looking at these grade 12s about to graduate and go, and you don't have a plan yet. You've got to get a plan. You got to start something, you know? You got to start your hours. Because you're not going to get good at something.
And a 20-year-old in that exact same boat right now.
Yeah. And eventually, you know, they'll find their thing, but yeah.
What was, you know, Mike, this is your question, so I don't want to ask it, but you always ask a question about, like,
when did you realize you couldn't turn it off?
When what? Sorry?
When did you realize that you couldn't turn it off? This desire to compete. So we talk a lot about
compete. In your case, learn.
Yeah.
Turn the competing.
We
You
go
know
to bed
what?
at night thinking about what our workout is tomorrow, and then he goes to bed at night thinking about reps that he missed. So just want to understand where
You
you're.
know, I'm not sure if I ever actually articulated, I can't turn this off. But when I did my master's, there was a lot of writing and a lot of reflection on lifelong learning, which is when I realized I was that person. It was looking back retrospectively that I had spent my whole life.
And it starts to trigger. This
Yeah.
is why I did this. This is why.
I did this. And I have to say, I am so glad that I was smart enough to stay training, because I didn't do it consciously saying, okay, like when I'm 60, I want to be strong. And if there's a pandemic, I want to have a reserve of muscle so that if I get sick, I don't die. or that as I age, which is really what I wanted to do, is I wanted to age well. And the best thing I could have done is lifted weights my whole life to make sure that as I enter this like next 3 decades of my life, which I hope I have, is that I'm going into it strong and healthy with I have no illnesses. I've had nothing. And like, this is a real wood table. Okay, good. Touching it. And luckily, and I still eat the way I did, so I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't whatever. And all of that, I feel I guess I did it consciously, but I'm like, wow, was I ever smart to do that? Because everything you read right now about aging well is
You've been living it.
Live, exercise, lift weights, don't drink, don't smoke, don't do whatever. So
That's an Adam Ant song.
what's that?
Don't drink,
Don't drink, don't smoke.
Yeah.
What do you do? From the 80s?
But
I remember.
you're right.
Right.
You read, Peter Attia's book right now,
Yeah.
and it's all about health span as opposed to just living longer.
Yes.
And you've really achieved health span from
So
my
far,
vantage
so
point.
good.
So aspirational. I'm 54 and I ride and train with people 10 years older than me, and it's an inspiration.
And I would have
it's
thought you were 10 years younger than that. Honestly.
Thank you.
There you go.
And but it's inspirational, and I think we need to continue to be present and to be in the public so we can provide that inspiration to others, so that they're thinking about, well, what am I doing when I'm 30? What am I doing when I'm 40, 50? I was telling my kids the other day that I was thinking back to when I was their age and what a typical 50-year-old looked like growing up in southern Saskatchewan. And they were farmers that had pot bellies and drank a lot of whiskey and smoked a lot of darts and not super healthy. And, I was trying to compare where I am now versus, what I saw growing up. And
Carol O'Connor was like 40 years old when he played Archie Bunker.
Is that right?
really?
Yeah, I was looking it up. He's way younger than you think he was. He's like 40.
Oh, he looks like he's
He's like he's not like that.
Is that that's for
Yeah, I mean, maybe put Naster's just in case, but there's a number of people I went through, because the Golden Girls always come up.
Yeah.
And because I think the Sex and the City girls are the same age as the Golden Girls were.
Is
or
that
something
right?
like that.
They are now?
Yeah, now.
Oh my
and then-
goodness.
And so,
didn't know
Blanche
that.
was, the actress was 40 as well, or 41 or something like that.
In the Golden Girls.
Yeah, in the Golden Girls.
my
So they're
God.
playing
know
but
that
the
guy's
Carol
name.
O'Connor one I
Heard
think
of
came
the
up.
Golden Girls.
And I was really surprised at that one because he does not look like a 40-year-old man today.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. You think about the group my father hung around with were not young-looking men by any means. But when they're my age, they were certainly older-looking guys.
Now, to be fair, we've talked about this a lot in our community here. I think that you're right on the edge of this ever happening in history. Meaning, like our generation, right around 50, is the first in the history of the world, I'm convinced, that's fortunate enough to have got to a point without the responsibilities that our previous generations had. Meaning, economic, wartime, all of it, right? Our generation went through pretty much unscathed, right? And so, if you had the right mindset, you could.
Yeah.
But then fitness became mainstream.
Just started,
Yeah.
right, through our period, and we've seized it obviously more than others, right? But so it's it's not totally apples to apples, but I think we're just looking at the clock here. I think my last kind of question to Jay's point here, reference to where you're at, and then people that would be looking at this conversation. Young women today, if you in basically 30 seconds, at any age of a woman's development in life, what would you say to them right now?
I would say stay fit. Don't put fitness on the back burner. Don't put everything else in your life in front of that, because you can't support your life if you're sick, if you're not fit. You have to be a good mom, to be a good, partner. You have to look after yourself first, You know, it's like the oxygen mask in the plane. You got to put your oxygen mask on first before you can help others. Because if you're sick, you can't help anybody. So you've got to make your own, you know, life a priority, and the health of your own life a priority.
So
Don't put it on the back burner.
On that note, we'll wrap it up. But fist bumps. Thanks very much, Alison.
Oh,
amazing.
Nice.
Nick, thanks for filling in.
Thank you.
Next thing.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, everybody.
Yeah.
It's a wrap.